We are headed home. My legs are so fucking sore still. Again, I worked out with the guys and our brigade commander the other day. Did I think like trap bar deadlifts 400 for like a max set of 13. Couldn't rep them out anymore. It was going to be grindy, so just stopped it there. Then we had this 5 rounds, 40-meter sled drag, 20 swings, 20 push press, 20 squat. 5 rounds of that. You go, I go, just back and forth with your partner. Could barely get down and up off the toilet yesterday and today. Traps are toasted. They were much worse yesterday, a little bit better today, but even my legs still, every single muscle in there besides the calves, adductors, abductors, quads, hammies, everything is in just rough shape. So we're going to train today. That is not happening. We are now training tomorrow. So that's going to get pushed off. So we'll go 2 days no training into our heavy total day, see how that goes. But we had Chick-fil-A catered for lunch today. So I was originally just going to have a small plate, but then I'm like, okay, we're going to cut right now. But in order to just survive, whoopsie, we got to fix that. There we go. In order to just survive and recover from all of the soreness, I think I need a big plate. So we had a couple cookies, a brownie, and then a hell of a lot of protein there. So we are now headed off to Walmart's. Tomorrow, I spend my entire next 2 days doing my online USAW level 2, so I'll be focused on all of that. There we go, now we're set. My online level 2, tomorrow night, going to a baseball game, one of our minor league teams here in Fayetteville. And yeah, so we'll come out of this weekend level 2 certified, and then once Nationals ends, I will be level 3 certified. That's the development one. I will have sent 1 athlete to seniors and 3 athletes to youths in this one. So we'll be level 2 right into level 3, and then who knows, maybe someday up to level 4. The international coach, take an athlete to an international event. Maybe, hopefully. But you don't train balance. You don't get better balance by training balance. So, been to any Globo gym ever, especially like 10 years ago when this was like the whole fucking craze. You see personal trainers putting a shit ton of people just on Bosu balls and shit like that, making them do fucking stupid ass shit, Bosu ball, bicep curl, squat, things that are training their balance because they are an older population. If they fall, they will probably die within 6 months, just statistics. So we have to train them to be better at balancing, so we need to make them balance more, which in theory makes sense. If we want to be stronger, we lift heavy weight to make us stronger. If we want to be better at balancing, we need to practice the skill of balancing. However, balancing is not a skill. Balancing is merely the coordinated co-contraction of different muscles to maintain a center of mass. That is not a skill. That is not something that you practice to learn. That is something where the neuromuscular fibers, the nerve endings into the muscles, and the brain gets better at contracting at a faster rate, and it gets better at understanding its environment to be able to turn on and turn off whichever muscles very quickly. Sounds very familiar, right? Like when we get stronger, our muscles don't necessarily grow. So what is actually happening? Our brain is becoming better at firing at that neuromuscular junction. It's also turning off some things. Our muscle spindle gets a little bit more relaxed. We can lift a little bit more. But it's mostly going to be neurological. So you get better balance by being stronger and having a more efficient brain that can send out those stimuli. So we don't train balance by balancing more. Balancing more is simply showing how well you can balance. You don't get better at balancing by balancing. You get better at balancing by being stronger. The balancing is simply the sports, in this case, the showing of the lift, of how well you are balancing. So we take that all the way from left field where we're talking about balancing on Bosu balls to now actually bringing it into weightlifting, looking at balancing on your feet. So if we are talking about, hey, I have a very hard time controlling my center of mass during the lift. So you're doing a snatch and you're rocking just back and forth on your feet the entire damn time. Just doing more snatches and focusing on staying balanced is not going to help you be more balanced. Because again, that's the exact same thing where, all right, asshole. That's the exact same thing where you're trying to fix your balance issues by simply just balancing more, which is not how that gets fixed, as we just covered. So in order to fix our balance and help us better able to control our center of mass during the lift, we need to, one, get stronger. If you go all the way onto your toes in the pull, well, we need to get you stronger pushing off your heels because your body's going to where you feel strongest. You feel strongest on your toes, we need to develop some more strength and power pushing off that heel, pushing off that midfoot. If you immediately throw your hips back and you come way up on your heels, all right, we need to get you stronger pushing through that forefoot. So we just need to get you stronger throughout that whole foot. But we also need to get you better at having your brain understand the environment in which it's in so that it can respond to the stimuli correctly. How do we do that? We do that through variations. Just purely doing the snatch and clean and jerk every single day, or even just that with no variation, is not a good approach if you want the athlete to be better. You look at any of the top players in anything in the world. Like if we look at the Brazilian men's national soccer team, football team, FUT, ball. Most of them probably did not lift for the majority of their career until they were like super professionals, simply just because Brazil is a fairly poor country, at least it was during the time when this men's national team was growing up. So they didn't do a lot of lifting. So a lot of people would think then, oh, they just played soccer all the time and they got better at the game of soccer by playing soccer. You don't need to do more than just the sport itself. However, Brazil, again, is a very poor country in most of the entire country. Brazil has a lot of beach. So I've actually done a whole project for my MBA on the economy of Brazil and the different sports that are in it and how the Dallas Cowboys could penetrate into that market. So Brazil has this thing where as children, they're playing soccer, but you do not have 22 people. You can't play a whole 11-on-11 game most of the time. So they play a lot of small-sided games where it's 3-on-3, 5-on-5. They play on the sand. They play on concrete. They play with many different things. They may not have a soccer. They have to play with a different ball. So they are not just playing the game of soccer as it is as the sport over and over. They are playing with many different constraints. They are playing with many different ways of differential learning. They're playing with very different, just a task that they're trying to accomplish. If we go from a full-size soccer field of 11-on-11 to half that 11-on-11, the game changes dramatically. That's a variation. If we go from the same size field, 11-on-11, to 4-on-4, the game changes drastically. So looking at the sport of actual like team sports, just doing the sport does not get you better at the sport. It's everything you do, just because the skill of soccer is not just, are you good at soccer? It's so many things that pile up. It's, can you calculate how far away? Can you figure out where that ball needs to go? Can you calculate hundreds of different things? Can you respond to your environment? Can you feel what your environment needs you to respond accordingly to make the play to score the goal? So if we're just doing the snatch and clean and jerk over and over and over, sure, that's going to work for a couple of Bulgarians who have a shit ton of drugs and who have hundreds of people who can just roll through and break, and whoever comes out is a gold medal winner. But for the vast majority of the population, that is not how we need to train people. We need to do lots of variations at different times to get the body to understand how to respond in different situations. Because you are never going to have a snatch or a clean and jerk that is exactly the same. In a book I'm reading, I actually just finished today, How We Learn to Move by Dr. Rob Gray from ASU, there was a study done in the 1900s where they calculated a blacksmith hammering on a sword or hammering on something on the anvil. And the more experienced the blacksmith was, there was not a correlation between how many times they had the exact same swing. The expert blacksmith did not have the same swing over and over. However, he still hit perfectly every single time. So even with our most expert of whatever they are, you are still going to see a lot of variation. However, the expert is able to respond to their environment, change their movement, change their body to still accomplish the task. So it is not that the expert is better at perfecting and doing the exact same movement over and over. The expert is better at modulating and responding to their environment to finish the task at hand. So how do we respond to different tasks at hand? We do that through variation. Not every snatch is going to be the same. When you get to a max attempt, it may be a little forward, maybe a little back. If you do not have the movement variability and the just ability to respond to your environment practiced, you're going to miss the lift because you do not know how to change your body and how to move around to make the lift because you have not practiced that. So we get better balance by getting stronger, but also through a lot of variation and learning how to respond to our environment a lot better. So if you're just gen pop, general person, you just want to be better at balancing, get stronger. It's pretty simple. If you're an Olympic weightlifter and you want to get better at balancing, meaning controlling your center of mass around the barbell and controlling the barbell center of mass, you need to be doing some variations. Just the pure competition lifts year round will get you better, but only to a certain extent. If you can do everything as perfect as possible all the time, then you're probably good. The only issue with that is you will not be able to do everything as perfect as possible every single lift. Again, like that expert example, every single lift is going to be different. There is not going to be a single lift where every single one looks the same, or a day where every single thing looks the same. There will be tiny, minute variations in every single lift. It's just a matter of, do we have the capability to respond and self-organize to still make the lift in those examples?